publications including The Guardian, GQ, Vogue Voice, and has previously worked with grassroots platforms such as GRN Daily, Lincoln TV, and SBTV. Neef has also contributed essays to SAFE on Black British men reclaiming space, Kesha the Sket, and A New Formation, How Black Players Shaped the Modern Game. He was the recipient of the Barbara Blake Hannah Award at the 2021 British Journalism Awards and the Culture Writer of the Year Award at the 2021 Freelance Writers Awards. In 2022, he was named on the Forbes 30 Under 30 list in media and marketing, and he's a fellow of the Royal Society of Arts. And here is tonight's conversation, I'm really pleased to welcome Casey Bailey. Casey's a writer. Casey's a writer, poet, playwright, performer, and educator. He was born and raised in Neachords, Birmingham, and was the Birmingham Poet Laureate 2020 to 2022. Really hope you enjoy the event. Please give a warm welcome to our guests. Thank you very much, everyone. Hello, Nick.
Hello.
How are you feeling?
Yeah, no, good.
Enjoying being back in the city?
Yeah, no, it's the first time I've come back, I think, since I was doing the report for the book, so it's actually nice to come back. Weirdly nostalgic.
So, just so you guys know, I'm going to try not to be a clown as much as possible, and try and talk as little as possible, and let Neve give us the kind of joy and the magic of this book. Has anyone here got the book yet? Yet being the key word, so if you don't have it yet, it's copies. I think first of all, before I ask you any of these questions, and I've got some questions written down, but we'll see how the conversation goes. I just want you to, if you can, give us a brief kind of synopsis overview, like what is the book about?
Cool. So yeah, where we come from, Rap Home and Home, Modern Britain is a social history of UK rap and grime, but it's more so than that. It's almost a social history of modern Britain in a lot of ways, and it takes place in three locations: South London, West Midlands, and South Wales. And yeah, a big part of that was coming up and down to Birmingham for about 5 years, looking at the history of music, but the history of black communities in Birmingham, Coventry, and wider areas too, and weaving that into a narrative about the history of grime and UK rap. But more so than that, I guess, telling the real personal stories of the people who actually did the history. So a lot of the book is narrative non-fiction essentially, which I guess looks at the unfolding of these events through the eyes of the people that shaped the music and have been shaped by the music since.
Nice. So I guess the first question for me is, like, first of all, how did you know you wanted to write this book? But as a little parenthesis, was it always this book, or did it start somewhere and then the book take you to where it ended up?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, writing a book is definitely like a process of discovery, I would say, because where you start is definitely not where you finish. But I knew that I wanted to write a book about the music, but more so about the people who's have been involved in the music and whose lives have been shaped by music. And I knew I wanted to write that, and I think as I started to zero in on that, it then started to expand, and that's where like the historical and the political elements came in. So it started with just coming up to Birmingham. The first interview I did was in Birmingham actually, and from there I started to think about where does, like, UK rap and grime doesn't start with these genres, what is the cultural history of them, and that's where I started looking at immigration and these kind of things. So that was kind of where it started, and then it kind of took on a life of its own. I can read like a little bit from that part if that
That would be amazing, yes please.
So yeah, this was from the very first parts. I think these were maybe the first parts of the book I had actually written. From chapter 5, called Middle England, West Midlands, and it starts with looking at a guy called Ryan, who goes on to become a DJ and music producer and so many other things in Birmingham and the wide West Midlands, but this is the beginning of his story. When his granddad passed in 2001, Ryan was 18 and a fuck up. He was selling weed, he was debt collecting, he was fighting. He was a good-hearted boy, lost to a time and a place that demanded stone-faced camouflage from its young. This is Darlaston, a small town on the edges of Walsall, an old coal town, a steel town, a bit survival story. In the decades to come, he would scratch the place from memory, an era best buried, the sufferings in a shallow grave. But it's the early millennium now, and he's 18, still here, where he has always been. He's living with his mum, his grandparents live in a house across the road. This is all that he knows. Darlaston is in the Black Country, the region in the far north of the West Midlands, loosely defined in the 1800s, when black smoke from the many ironworks stained the horizon with an eternal fog. Here, as he was coming of age, among the ruins of these once booming industrial heartlands, towns like Darlaston were withering, smoke fading into dust, dust holding the ghost of what once was. His generation were birthed in the ashes. They inherited a home where the population was falling, where unemployment was high, where expectations were low, and, as Ryan says, almost nobody escapes. A home where the education system is flawed, where you left school to work, as he says, at the packing plant down the road, to work in retail, to work at a bar, to work in the big Asda. Or, if you're him, you sell weed. You work at Burger King for a year, you work at the packing place for a few weeks, filling and moving boxes, then quit. You sell some ecstasy pills, you sell coke for a month, you spend your savings on a music studio and jelly babies in an era when UK garage was the sound of the time.